wait, do I need Every single stop, I'm like half through a sentence, and hi, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be back here. This is my last stop, and it's really, really fun to do a last stop somewhere I've been before. I'm also very raspy because I've been speaking, which is something I don't normally do, so don't mind the rasp. Also, these are all the really cute friendship bracelets I got on tour, and I just want to show you because it's really sweet. Yay.
I mean, we are very lucky to have Rachel here for her very last stop on this tour before she gets to go home and finally relax. So yay for Orange County.
Yay.
A win.
Yay, Orange County. My third book, it came out on Tuesday, which is it's a week ago.
It's been a week.
Yeah, okay.
A whole week.
I don't know where I am or what time it is. Yes. And if you haven't read my previous two works and you pick up The Night and the Moth, that's A-okay. It's a brand new book, a brand new series. It's not in the same universe in any way. Yeah, it's a brand new story. It's a story about Sybil, who is a diviner. She's this sort of religious figure in a cathedral called Ashland Cathedral. Her job, as along with her fellow diviners, is to sort of drown and dream of these god-like figures called omens. And the story kind of begins when Sybil's fellow diviners go missing, and she has to embark on a quest with a wonderful companion gargoyle and a heretical and antagonistic knight named Rory. And they
Agreed.
And together they get into all sorts of mischief and bedlam and have wonderful and terrible times. That's The Night and the Moth in a nutshell.
And I heard a couple of woos for the gargoyle. That should have
Yes,
been a lot
can we get a
So thank you.
Oh, I should say too, it is another duology. It is book 1 of 2, and I do like to say for folks who have read it already, I want you to know the sequel. I'm so sorry. The sequel exists. It's been written. It is it's in developmental edits right now. So don't be. This is not my author tour. It's my apology tour, and but I don't have any idea about like release date and stuff. But I can say that the title has been finalized. I think. I just found this out today. You just get little tidbits of information as you go, but the cover is being done right now. And for those of you who don't know, the cover of The Night and the Moth is actually a photo shoot, which is so cool. It's very stylized to look like my previous works, but they actually had a model. She's wearing a wig, and so they thought about putting a veil over her eyes because that's kind of very on theme of the book, but it didn't quite work, so they covered her hair, and she was submerged in a little tub. She did one round of the photos wearing this like gossamer-like dress, and the second in a proper suit of armor. And those flowers floating in there are real, like it's all staged, and so they're gonna stage another one. I don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but it's gonna look really, really good. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited.
And also taking off armor after having been in a tub.
I know. There's some
experience.
behind the scenes pictures, and she's like, "It was really cold." I'm like, "Thank you." I didn't know. I'm not someone who tends to want to exercise any sort of creative control over my covers because the Orbit design team is fantastic at what they do. It's the same cover designer who did One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. So I'm just like, I can't wait to see it when it's done. I didn't know. The only note I kind of gave them was I wanted like a moonlit palette, and we got that, and so much more. So I don't even know what the next one's gonna be. We're already gonna find out together.
Everybody's gonna be waiting. And so I can just jump ahead.
Yeah, I know.
Real quick. But that was a great answer, by the way. I love that. All right. So and now, Sybil and the Foulest Night in all of Trom. Did I say that right? Trom.
Yes, Trom.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rory. Mendacious,
yeah.
Roderick,
Rory, yeah. No, you're good. I'm sorry. That's the thing about fantasy, though. Like, so many things can be made up. There's no, and sometimes, like, when I'm listening to audiobooks, that's, like, the only way I know how to say things. Or I wait till other people say it, because I'm like, I don't know. But the problem now is that audiobooks are like, hey, Rachel, how do you pronounce these things? Because we want to say it right in the audiobook. And I was like, that's such a good question. But anyway, sorry.
I agree.
Yeah.
Jess said, like, when we were picking the title, that was my fears, that people would be worried about saying the name, but I don't care.
Yeah,
So
I know.
Yeah, I don't think most authors
It is
care.
what you want it to be at this point, yeah.
So I absolutely love the combination of devoted, faithful powerhouse of a character who realizes that her world is nothing like what she thought, colliding against a cynical, angry heretic who'd never admit that he believes more in people, not a system or a cause.
Yeah.
So, what's the best part of creating the emotional arcs for Sybil and Rory, and what was the hardest?
I mean, obviously the best part is we all like a Pride and Prejudice moment, and like the pinnacle of Pride and Prejudice is always the original title is called First Impressions or something. So it is very, very fun to have two characters who you're like, okay, I am going to start with them having complete opposite beliefs. Or yeah, she's very narrow-minded and kind of pious and very proud, and he's just like, you're stupid, and she talks to him and she's like, you're stupid, and so it's just such a great vehicle for tension. So for me, honestly, that part comes easily. The banter between them comes quite easily because I don't know what this says about me, but like petty little insults. I'm like, I'm so good at that. But I think the hard part is in just character work in general is nuance and trying not to, it's inevitable that you do it in some ways, but try not to make an archetype of anyone.
Right.
Like, yeah, he isn't just a broody little turd wearing eyeliner, and she's not just like, I don't know, this is a hot take, but I'm not always fond of the idea of like strong female lead. I think I go for nuance if I can. She's strong and not. There's deeply, deeply vulnerable, flawed. So yeah, it takes layers. It takes drafting layers because sometimes characters feel too, I don't know, they don't feel fully formed for a while. So yeah, just going back and going for subtlety takes work and time.
And that makes sense. I mean, strong female characters are strong for a reason.
Yeah.
What made them strong?
Yeah.
And so I think Drowning.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
No, she's physically she's supposed to be very strong, and she's also strong in her convictions, and a lot of that is because actually to be a diviner is very physically and emotionally taxing for her, and it's very difficult for her, and she doesn't actually like it, but in her mind, it all has to be for a reason. I think that's why it's so hard for her when her world comes crumbling down. Kind of the log line of the stories to tell a story, to tell lies. So what does it mean when, you're suffering for something and it has to be worth something in the end? Because what did you do it all for? And then you realize perhaps nothing. Like, it's rough. It's rough. Sorry, it's rough. But to like come to that point while writing her takes layers and time.
Sorry, Sybil should pretty much be the log line of the book.
Sorry, all my characters.
Naming system.
You're the first person to ask me that.
Oh, yay.
Which is fun. I guess I did Providence cards and stuff for my other ones. I was like, did I do things for my other books? So yes, I did other things, and then I just did the POV and Two Toots of Crow. So this is my first time thinking of just like fun chapter headers. I actually really loved it. And then I remember reading a lot of books like this when I was like, why don't we have more chapter headers? They're so fun. They can be funny. They can be whatever you want them to be. I think for some like pinnacle chapters, which is like the inciting incident, like the midpoint, like I tried to be really purposeful and set the tone. I do try to set the tone with each one, like you will get something of this. But vibesy. I'm pretty are you a plotter or a pantster?
That depends on the day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I'm more of a pantster, unfortunately. But so yeah. Some of them I planned. Some of them I thought of little lines throughout. I was like, ooh, and then I put it later, but sometimes it's just off the cuff, and it ended up working. Yeah.
They worked, and it'll be fun for everyone to discover who is being hit a second time.
Yeah, encore.
Encore. That you made, that you didn't initially envision making.
Ooh. I think there was one more Omen at one point. I'm making my changes are I just make too much work for myself, and in the end I just have to cut it out and you like kill your darlings and just be like, okay. But I don't think there was anything that really comes to mind, which means it probably just had to go. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, killing an omen is pretty solid.
And I just got one out. There was just too much stuff. Yeah. I tend to be someone, I did the, one of my stops with Abigail Owen, and we were just talking craft, and it was so funny that we have the same process, which is, I'm curious to know what yours is too, even though you said it changes day to day, but to have your living draft open, and then you have another document open, which is like, oh, I need to make these changes as I go. Sometimes you go back and not, but like being more of a pantser, you kind of just like, oh, that's wrong, and you keep going. And then you have a third document, which is what you cut.
The graveyard.
Yeah, and you paste it thinking, oh, well, I definitely need this again, and you never use it, but like, yeah.
You don't even go visit.
No, it's there. I save it. I mean, like, you're welcome. But no, they sit there and languish. What, is that what you do? I mean...
Well, yours is actually more organized. I do have a graveyard.
Okay.
Many things go in the graveyard, but most of the time, I'll go through the draft, despise it with every fiber of my being,
sure,
and then I'll make, my revision outline. I'll go through, I'll make those changes, despise it more, send it to my editor who says please calm down.
I know. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm giving you the worst thing you've ever read in your life.
I have actually said that. Like, I have verbatim said that. I'm so sorry that you have to read this.
Who's your editor?
Aaliyah.
Okay.
She's lovely.
We're at the same imprint. So yeah.
She has never ever made me feel like that.
No, neither was mine. They were just like, no, it's great. I mean, it's a first draft. It's like, you hate me.
But it does get better. A lot of people say that you feel the best around, I think it was copy edits is what I heard, or I hate copy edits, so for me it was past pages.
Oh, really? I love copy edits because they look like, I mean, I make so many grammatical errors that I don't spot, so I'm like, oh, bless you, you're doing so much work. Like, go, Kylie, go! And so, yeah, it's not, I just feel thankful at that stage. I'm done with, like, what I can, and so I'm like, someone else is doing a lot of really hard work right now, not me.
Oh, that is
you
great.
Hate it?
Oh, I despise it.
Why?
My copy editor, their copy editors are gems, because going through a fantasy novel, being like, hey, it actually took them like a week to get to this place a couple chapters ago, and today it took them 2 days. And also, why is this character, I had a character who was dead who showed up.
She's like, maybe not.
Yeah. Copy editors are worth their weight in gold, but it's a very humbling stage of the process.
Well, it's so cool. I think it was with One Dark Window where the moon was in, I describe it as like, I don't know, waxing, and then I describe it later as something else, and their comment was like, well, actually, with the amount of the moon would be in a different phase. I was like, okay, like, how do you know that? And also, thank you, because I'm just like the moon. Yeah.
The vibes are litigated.
And actually, I talk about the moon a lot in The Night and the Moth, and you'll never, I mean, I don't think you'll catch me saying what phase it's in, because I'm going to get it wrong. So yeah, isn't that funny?
It's about like gargoyle. I was cackling at pretty much every single thing he said. Like, every single thing he said, I was laughing out loud. Every time someone hurt him, I was ready to jump into the book with their hands. Mm-hmm. So he's a little ray of sunshine in the darkness that is Sybil's journey. Yeah. But how would you characterize his role in Sybil's journey?
The gargoyle is really essential for Sybil because he's utterly absurd, and he says things backwards, he says things wrong, and Sybil's always correcting him. She's like, yeah! But it's very good for her, like, I would categorize Sybil as a perfectionist, someone who wants to do very well, struggling in a world when you realize even if you do things perfectly, things can go terribly wrong. And I think the gargoyle, I mean, he would agree with this, which is like, he's there to humble her. He's there to be like, well, no. Or, she'll say something correct even, and he'll say something incorrect, and he'll know in his heart of hearts that he is right and she is wrong.
He's just gotta humor her.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
But I think in a lot of ways that very much helps. He's not just there to humble her. I think he's a really good example for her, and in a way that she would never, ever, like, why would she look up to this absurd little creature? But in the end, it's very good for her. There's a lot of, like, childlike wisdom that I think she needed to embrace. She didn't really have an idea of a childhood, and I think if you want to think about it in that sense of like the inner child, the gargoyle is very much an inner child sort of figure in that she needed to come back to, in some sense, she needed to just, I don't know, be accepting of herself. And then at first and foremost, it was easier to accept eventually this strange little oddball creature. I had so much fun writing him. I think it's in the edition you guys have, the Barnes & Noble one I did, the bonus stuff was an interview my editor put together called The Questions, and one of them was, of all the characters in this book, which one do you see the most of yourself in? And I sat and thought for maybe 2 seconds. I was like, I think it's the gargoyle. I think, no, I don't know. I don't mean for it to be my brand that like the weird disembodied or non-human side character steals the show, but inevitably here we are. So I'm very proud of our gargoyle. Yeah.
I think the weird disembodied side character steals most shows.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah.
There's something about a side character, you have so much creative freedom writing them. There's no necessary archetype. He doesn't have to add or take away or do anything to the plot if he didn't want to. He can just be there. So
he also says what the reader's thinking sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
And Rory and Sybil.
Yeah, he's like, now kiss and yeah.
Aren't you embarrassed conducting yourself like this when you're so clearly in love?
I know. He's like, we ain't got no time. But yeah, he's very delightful.
So there are many. Did you have any favorite scenes or scene that you loved that you didn't end up being able to put in the book?
No.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. I'm not someone who, if I really love it, I will work it in there if I have to. So no, everything there was there originally.
Well, actually,
or not as good, but I mean, in some semblance of form.
For the One Dark Window series, did you put any scenes that you couldn't put in book 1 and book 2? I know I'm asking you to
No, you're good.
Unlock the archives, but it's okay.
I did not. No.
Okay.
I knew where it had to end, and so I was just working to that ending. I didn't go beyond, and obviously book 2 just is a tonal shift in a lot of ways that I don't think I would have been conducive to when I was drafting One Dark Window to slide them in later. Did that happen to you? Since you have a sequel coming out this summer. Yeah!
I don't think so. I couldn't look at actually most things related to book 1 except for what I needed to know for the plot.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to read your older work for some reason after you've been writing a little bit longer. Which I was going to say, when you were drafting this book and you were saying that this feels a lot better, but at first didn't feel like that, I think every writer thinks that, did I figure out how to write?
Yeah.
Did I know how to
do
this?
Especially in duologies and stuff, like you write the first one, you go through the edits and exist, okay? And then you have this finished product, and then immediately, even in the same story, because I kind of consider my duologies one long story with a brutal intermission, but, and then, okay, the next part of the story after this finished product is my first draft, and it's just, the comparison bug is so hard to just squash down, like you compare yourself to yourself, unfortunately, but that's just how the process goes.
Indeed. But no, everything in my graveyard stayed dead.
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
Today, as any character in your books, who would it be and why?
Probably the gargoyle.
There's no way it's not the gargoyle.
I mean, he'd be like out picking flowers and trying to make like a little flower crown or something. And I don't know, I just, he's so whimsical and everyone else is so stressed out. They're like the kingdom, the cards, like, I don't know, they're just not chill. And I can't operate like that. I would like to relax a little bit. So yeah.
You could fly.
Yes.
Which is a bonus.
That's right.
So I didn't actually have this written down, but I really need to ask about the scene with the armor. If you've read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When someone is measured for armor by someone else, and the tension in that scene.
Thank you.
Top tier. Not put the book down.
I've actually talked about this chapter a little bit because I have kind of a funny story behind it. But what was your actual question? Just that chapter. Okay. I've had questions like research questions and things like that regarding this book, and one of which was, okay, beyond the process of how one makes armor itself, like how does one cast a suit of armor? And which is interesting because, this was long before measuring tape or even like longer, more like stick things were used, and customized suits of armor weren't something either. It was later and for wealthier people. And anyways, I'm going into all my little research. I'm like, well, this is wonderful. And, you know, there's Ren Fair enthusiasts who are like, and this is how you make armor. I was like, yeah. And then we get to the part where how would one make a cast for armor. They would use like a linen substance, and they would stick it like a very lightweight material, and they would, you know, make it, mold it to one's body. And I was like, okay, how did they do that? They used a glue-like substance made out of animal feces. And I was like, that is the most unsexy thing I've ever heard in my life. I can't put that in a book. I was just panicking. And then I did see, I mean, I'm sure, and again, like anachronisms, they do exist, but are some scenarios where they would use beeswax. They would use that. And I was like, oh, good. Because I'm like, there's just no fucking way. So yeah, that was a really fun scene to research as well. I know. I was like, I would have found a way. That's a fun thing about fantasy too. I mean, like, does Rory have to be wearing eyeliner or no? But will I now add it somehow into the plot because I like it? Yeah. So, you know, I could have added beeswax to be a necessity somehow if I needed to, but that was something I discovered in my research process. Because I got questions from my agent when she read it. She's like, is this real out there? And my editor, she read it, it's like, that's really out there. Yes, it did. This can happen. So yeah.
Cite your sources at that point.
Yeah, I know.
A lot worse.
MLA format. I swear to God, it's real. Yeah.
You know, that was mentioned earlier.
I can't give you the title, but I have said at other stops, one of my early stops was like, if you could describe the sequel in one word, what would it be? And I've been saying tournament. So that's what you get. That's your little snippet, little something to chew on for God knows how long. But hopefully it won't be too arduous of a wait. It is, I think sequels, you know, it's fun to put them out when they're ready, not make people wait forever. And I am happy to be in developmental edits of it. And yeah.
Yay. Okay, that's
Is that okay?
What? Good? Great?
I mean, that's what I want.
I'm excited. I love the tournament, so I can't wait. Okay, and now we have our rapid fire question section.
Oh, boy.
And you can justify your answer with maybe one sentence more than that.